This is Screen Test, brought to you by Kins 5, and we are going to the Oscars, breaking down the films and performances nominated for the 6 major awards ahead of the 2021 Academy Awards. I'm Jackson Floyd.
And I'm David Lynch, and in this video, we are breaking down the best lead actor race, who we think will win, who we think should win, and some of the narratives that have evolved in recent months. So this year, the nominees for Best Actor are Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Steven Yeun for Minari, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal. Jackson, what are your thoughts when you look at that lineup?
I mean, it's got potential to be a groundbreaking award.
Right.
If you look at Steven Yeun, first Asian American nominated, Riz Ahmed, first Muslim nominated, and then Anthony Hopkins, I think you were saying before we recorded, could be the oldest winner of the Best Actor category here. I don't think any of those guys are going to win. We'll get to that a little bit later, but a pretty stacked category. All of them, I think, standing on the shoulders of all of that is Chadwick Boseman, though.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. You know, for obvious reasons, kind of metatextually in our world, but also just because he put in a fantastic performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And, you know, just going over a little bit of history here, you know, obviously Heath Ledger was the last person, the last actor that is to win an Oscar posthumously for The Dark Knight in 2009. But previously, just over the course of Oscars history, there have been 8 actors or actresses who have been posthumously nominated for their performances. So if and when I think Chadwick Boseman wins, he would be the third after Heath Ledger and Peter Finch for Network. Interestingly, though, he would be the first of those 3 who was not nominated previously. This is his first Oscar nomination, so it would be his first time at that, as it were. And, you know, I think when you think about that, you know, whether you're talking about the Oscars, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, the Grammys, whatever Oscars award ceremony you're talking about, you know, those awards aren't decided on, handed out on a whim on that ceremony's night, right? So they're always in a way a reflection of where where we are in the evolution of a conversation surrounding a certain movie, album, TV show, or in this case, performance. And you just, as was the case in 2000 and 2008, you just really can't come up with a more potent narrative than Chadwick Boseman winning for his final and arguably his best performance. You know, his death is no less tragic, it's no less devastating, no less shocking several months on. And I think that he's going to be in line for the Oscar. I think he's garnered up all the precursor awards. What do you think, Jackson?
Yeah, I think this is Boseman's to win. I just want to shout out to Yeun and Ahmed, who I think put in 2 fantastic performances.
Definitely a little bit quieter performances, but yeah.
Oh, for sure. Boseman, of course, is the loudest performance from the group as well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's a wonderful performance on his part too. Like you said, probably his best performance of his career, the pinnacle of his career. I mean, sure, he's Black Panther, the star of one of the biggest movies of all time, but reaches new heights in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I think he'll win this award. Should he win the award?
I mean, I think he should. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think for a time, the conversation was around Anthony Hopkins, and I think the main reason of that is because The Father debuted all the way back in Sundance over a year ago, so he was really at the forefront of that conversation. Kind of like, oh, it's Anthony Hopkins' a stellar career. He's won once before for Silence of the Lambs, and he might just win a second one, people were saying, because he just puts in a fantastic performance in The Father, just a monumental performance. I mean, it's really centered on him, and he puts in just fantastic works. He runs the gamut of emotions. He almost defies his age in some moments when he like gets up and dances in certain parts and just is just bouncy. The bounciest performance from an 83-year-old you're likely to see in a while. And what that movie culminates in is just a heartbreaking scene with him, moment with him that I think I remember writing when I wrote about The Father. That's just like this puts everything else a little bit forward perspective, and he puts in some of the most heartbreaking moments he's ever seen on the screen. So I think for a time he would have been a rightful contender, and he still is. But I think that while Hopkins might be the taller performance, Boseman's is deeper. I think his performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is more a little bit informed by history of that character, and a little more inviting for consideration of when you're thinking about that story's themes of Black men's and Black women's spaces and artistry and commercialism. You know, that story is set in the mid 1900s, but it still has relevance today. So I think that Chadwick Boseman's performance definitely should win.
speaking of the depth of that performance too, I think Boseman brought a lot of what he was going through, his experience to it.
Right.
There is a pain and a hunger in that role, and a striving for the pinnacle, the greatness. And if you read about Chadwick Boseman posthumously and why he kept his battle with cancer under wraps, a secret, he was striving for that same greatness. He wanted to be the best actor he could, bring the experiences he could to the screen while he could.
Right.
And representation as a representative for Black faces on screen too. He's played some of the biggest historical figures in biopic roles. If you look at Jackie Robinson, James Brown,
Right.
but also what he meant as Black Panther,
Right.
as the leader of Wakanda, to a cinema that doesn't have enough all Black casts or enough Black leads. He strove for that same greatness that you see in the character. So that just makes it a little more heartbreaking looking back on it. This is his award to win, and he should take that win home. That being said, David, if he doesn't win, where are you on the outrage meter?
If he doesn't win between a 0 to 5, I'm just humoring ourselves a little bit here. I'm putting myself between a 1.5 and a 2, and just because of this, I think that when you're talking about the cementing of movies and performances and the mainstream optics of movie and pop culture history, you don't get much more foundational and wider scoped, for lack of a better word, than the Oscars, right? I think Chadwick Boseman, for what we know now about what he was going through, as you alluded to, while he was still shooting movies, physical movies like *To Five Bloods*, *Black Panther*, and *Ma Rainey's Black Bottom*, all pretty physical performances. What we know now about what he was going through, and are still kind of reckoning with that and recognizing that fact several months on. I think that that's one of the few things, that legacy, that almost transcends him having a golden statue in his name. His name is going to live on anyway. He, like you said, just with the famous characters that he's played, while he had so much to give still and so much to do in his career and his life, it's amazing to consider that despite that fact, he already gave so much and did so much in his career, and for those who watched him, and the kids who will watch him growing up still going forward as Black Panther. So just kind of humoring ourselves, thinking he doesn't need the Oscar to cement his legacy, but it still would be a surprise for sure if he doesn't win.
Exactly. I think you're exactly right there. This won't be kind of the cap on it. He's already hit that. We've got Black Panther. We've got these stellar performances. We have the legacy. Surprise is the right word, not outrage. Though I do think maybe if Gary Oldman wins, there might be a little bit more outrage.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so. If we're as we alluded earlier, there's a lot of potential for history to be made in this category in a year where a lot of history was made up and down the categories and Oscars this year beyond the performances. Gary Oldman's won before. He's got his Oscar for Darkest Hour. I would have slotted one or two other folks in there for in best lead actor aside from him. So if anyone else wins, it would be interesting. I'd be a little suspicious if Gary Oldman won it, but I think we'll both be surprised if anyone other than Chadwick Boseman wins.
Now, before we wrap this episode, David, I just want to ask what Boseman's nomination and potential to win means for this year's Academy Awards. He is one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, even after his death. And I mean, I think his star has only shown brighter in the 7 months since. Right.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we've had several months to kind of reckon with his death and kind of discuss what his legacy means. And, it's interesting to consider this year, because in a year where certainly all the Best Picture nominees are pretty small movies, not seen by very many audiences, simply because of the fact that some of the biggest blockbusters were delayed. The Oscars is pretty much almost certainly looking at record low viewership. We're all expecting that for this year, but I think almost certainly folks will want to tune in for that moment, and just what that moment will mean when most likely his wife and his family will get up on that stage as she did when she accepted the Golden Globe for him. And it's going to be a tragic moment to watch, or it's going to be a sad moment, but one that I think will be worth tuning into to help celebrate his legacy for sure.
Wakanda forever. And that wraps up our Best Actor category conversation here. You can find more of our conversations by subscribing to the YouTube button below. And of course, you can find more at kens5.com/screentest. I'm Jackson Floyd.
And I'm David Lynch. Thanks everyone for watching, and make sure to also tune into kens5.com/screentest a little bit closer to the ceremony. The Friday beforehand, we'll have predictions for all the categories for this year's Oscars up on the site at that time. Thanks for watching.